box. Think out of box in your approach. Go for a contrarian approach. What is contrarian approach? Contrarian approach is, again, yes, operation, because that is your day to day. You devote 60%, but increase your emphasis on productivity, because that is a key. अगर आपने growth कर ली, productivity नहीं की, then again you will be short of fulfilling the demands of your customers, shortfall on fulfilling the demands of your suppliers too. So we need to approach a contrarian approach of productivity 20% and growth again similar. So give equal weightage to your growth and to your productivity. See, in popular approach, if you do not give productivity more emphasis, then as I said earlier, okay, when you take opportunity and you go for unprecedented growth, you will go for the borrowed capital. So your return on capital employed, we look at return on equity, but again, this is a mistake. We shouldn't look at return on equity, because equity is say 100 rupees, but you are also borrowing your funds to increase your sales. You are not taking into consideration your borrowed capital. So your return on equity, you think it's high, but in effect, the ROCE is low against your excessive growth. So when you have low ROCE, then you will be in deficit in your fund. Your cash flow will be negative, and you will be always in need of borrowed funds. On the other hand, if you take a contrarian approach, your return on capital employed will be always high, because you are going for a steady growth and you have that surplus amount, you are not borrowing, then your ROCE would be higher than your growth. If your growth is 15%, definitely your ROCE will be 20%, means you are saving 5%. Your A is greater than B in contrarian approach, where you will be surplus in your funds. Now, taking above points into consideration, so we need to always focus on productivity itself, where we are always not putting our attention and maintain a steady growth. So your ROCE will be high. So always keep focus to have ROC greater than growth and not the other way around. And the business will always generate positive cash flows, and you avoid taking borrowed money. So there is no need for you to take loan. See, what is loan? If you write loan in Hindi, la and none, loan, and you read it reverse. So what is the reverse? Na lo means loan is na lo. Don't take it. So if you follow the principle of ROC greater than the growth, then you don't take loan. And loan, what is loan? Loan is definitely most cancerous. It is a cancerous cell of the financial system. So to overcome this, if we concentrate on the operational management and the financial management, I think we don't require, as a matter of fact, any sort of borrowed fund. So now let's go to financial management. This was the operational management. Now next slide would be on, we will be dealing on financial management. How through financial management we can generate cash surplus in our businesses. So once you generate cash, surplus cash, definitely you don't need any borrowed funds. You become 100% debt-free company. You save yourself from riba, you save yourself from interest. So the first principle on financial management, that is reducing market credit. उधार पे न तो लेना है न उधार पे देना है. I will give you the example of the most successful businessman in the Islamic history is of Hazrat Abdul Rahman bin Auf radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. He was a super. He आज की तारीख में अगर उनकी वेल्थ को डिस्ट्रीब्यूट किया जाए तो he would be 10 times bigger than Bill Gates. That was his worth at the time of his death. So what was the first principle of Hazrat Abdul Rahman bin Auf as a businessman? Was to deal only in cash transaction. No credit buying or no credit selling. For credit buying, take cash discount from your suppliers. And no credit selling, give a cash discount to and try to sell as much as you can on cash by offering them a cash discount. We view, that is, see, this is our general mistake. What we view goods transferred on credit to our customer as sale. आपने उधारी में किसी आपके कस्टमर को माल बेचा आपकी बुक्स पे, तो आपने सेल बता दिया और सेल का रियलाइजेशन तो हुआ नहीं है. बैलेंस शीट पे तो आपने कैश रिसीवेबल बता दिया, बुक्स पे कैश फ्लो के अंदर आपके पास कैश नहीं आई. तो वी फील, तो ये तो बेसिकली यू आर नॉट सोल्ड ऑन क्रेडिट. आई वुड से you have transferred your stock from your go down to your customers go down. So we need to take a very strong view on our credit selling. So basically what is in reality? It is just a stock transfer as we have not been paid. So better option is to rather offer cash discount or a bulk discount and push your sale so that at the month end to fulfill targets. By offering your credit sales, we also tend to lose sales as we stop supply. उधारी पे अगर आप दोगे, उसका पेमेंट अगर आपका कोई कस्टमर पेमेंट में वीक हो गया, तो आप डेफिनेटली आपका सेल उस कस्टमर को रोक दोगे. देन मतलब यू आर stopping your own sales also. So why to offer your customer credit sale? Rather offer him a good cash discount, looking to your profitability, and supply to your customers for on a cash discount opportunity. What is the other disadvantage of on credit sale is your sales force, rather than selling your product, is more often going on collection. वो उघरानी, वो आपके कलेक्शन के पीछे ज्यादा लगा हुआ है. वो अगर कस्टमर के पास अपना सेल्स करने भी जाता है तो लेकिन आपका कॉन्सेंट्रेट बोला कि नहीं, पहले उससे वसूली करो. वी नीड टू हैव कैश फ्रॉम हिम. इट्स पेमेंट इज ओवरड्यू बाय 30 days, 40 days, 50 days. So rather than selling, your sales guy is busy on a collection spree. So you are wasting the talent of your sales force. Second, concentrate on small retailers for your strong cash flow. छोटा कस्टमर, उसको आप कैश डिस्काउंट ऑफर करो so that he also gets benefit of selling it at a higher price by taking that cash discount, and you increase your supply chain. Keep large retailers, जो बड़े आपके retailers हैं, give them on credit, or but rather offer them volume discount. अगर वो आपके बड़े कस्टमर हैं, बड़े large scale हैं, so offer them a bulk discount, volume discount, give them on credit. But to maintain your cash flow, have equal proportion of your small retailers whom to you offer a cash discount, so that your cash flow remains in a positive mode and your supply chain remains strong. The third point is stock management. See, stock management is also equally important. Either your surplus cash is in the form of stock, which over a period of time becomes a dead stock, whether it is a raw material or whether it is a finished good. So we need to take consider the lead time. What is the lead time when you get the material from your suppliers, so that you don't waste your cash flow in ordering from your suppliers when that raw material is not needed. You are piling up your stock. Again, I will quote the principle of Hazrat Abdul Rahman bin Auf radiallahu ta'ala anhu. He never waited for higher profit or never stocked his goods. See, mind well, this principle है अब्दुल रहमान बिन औफ रदियल्लाहु ताला का, जो हमारे जिगरी जानी अशराए मुबशरा में से हैं. यही प्रिंसिपल हमारी गैर कौम की एक कम्युनिटी है जो इस पे अमल करती है कि वो हम प्रॉफिट का इंतजार करते हैं. वी थिंक कि जितना हम ज्यादा प्रॉफिट करेंगे इतनी हमारी वेल्थ क्रिएशन होगी, विच इज रॉन्ग. You need to have a fast turnover on a low profit, create a high volume, low profit, so that you are always in positive mode of your cash generation. So take the principles from Hazrat Abdul Rahman bin Auf radhiyallahu ta'ala. He always tried to avoid storage, because again, storage have its own cost and constant flow of, and by constant flow of sales it derives a high level of flow of money. अगर आपका कंटिन्यूअस आपका फ्लो चलता रहेगा आपका प्रोडक्ट का, your cash will be coming inside your company and you will be always surplus in your cash flow generation. So his main emphasis was on making earnings by increasing profits and thereby increasing the cash flow. See, high finished goods and work in progress of stock leads to high dead stock and carrying cost. Everything has a cost. You don't consider कि भाई ये तो मेरी गोडाउन है. अरे भाई, it's your godown, your product, but currently it is idle. It is not generating any sort of income for you. So we need to understand even high stock of finished goods and work in progress stock leads to high dead stock and carrying cost. Further, high finished good stock causes us, अगर बहुत stock हो गया तो at the end of the month what will happen? You will give promotions, you will offer higher discount than what you were offering to earlier. So it impacts your cash flow. So it causes you to offer promotions, various schemes for just liquidating the stock. Thereby, you are reducing your own margins. So once you reduce your margins, again, that impacts your cash flow and your cash flow decreases. And then one fine day, you are so short of cash in your cash flow that you go for the borrowed funds. Our major another flaw is we produce stock when sales are insufficient. So the contrarian method. So we need to concentrate on our productivity. We have to understand the cycle of our productivity for our product, when to produce and when not to produce. Even during a week's times when there is a recession, because मेरा आदमी मेरा machine ideal नहीं रहना चाहिए, so you start producing and not seeing that there is not enough sales happening. So rather to concentrate on sales, we concentrate on production, because we think कि मेरा आदमी ideal नहीं रहना चाहिए. This is the basic our mentality. कि I am paying him and he's sitting idle. अरे बाबा, when you are paying, but he is overproducing. That is also a cause of concern for an organization. Our production pattern is not in line with our sales. We need to sync our production and our sales together. Our high work in progress stock results in long lead time. So for production, which affects our poor service levels, then ultimately what happens? You can't cater to your sales, you can't cater to your customers, your service impact. Once your service impact, it impacts the overall growth of your company. Purchasing raw material and negotiating with suppliers is a key to your healthy cash flow. Focus on price, focus on lead time, focus on quantity, and focus on frequency of order are important tools for negotiating with your supplier for the raw materials which you are consuming. Reduce production lead time at your supplier's end and try to build a long-term relationship with suppliers, thereby improving reliability of supply. All these above factors are taken care of if you take care of your credit and cash sales, your market segmentation, your stock management, your production management. I think um, in these other factors that then I don't think we will need, or your business enterprise needs, any borrowed capital for your growth plan. So financial management is, I think, the most important aspects of our business. So both operational and financial management, if we take care of, then I don't think we need any borrowed fund. Neither we need to increase our equity or we need to go for any borrowed funds. So keep in mind, the key to the success of your business enterprise is the cash flow management of your enterprise. Uh, we'll come to the next slide, please. Now we come to interest. What is interest? इंटरेस्ट फ्री, ये ना इंटरेस्ट का लफ्ज आते ही हमारे कान खड़े हो जाते हैं. All interest, it is a generic word. There are a lot many other words where there is no word of interest, but in effect those are interest. And in some cases, the word interest is there, but it is not an interest. So we need to understand what is interest. It is basic. One is interest and one is the new term called usury. Interest is what they charge on your capital. Financial extra in excess of the principal amount of loan. Further, it got more evolved with the greed, because interest gives you more greed of the lenders and made it more cancerous for the society. It is that form of interest which is above the legal or socially acceptable rate. That is called usury. Generally, I would give the example of credit card payments. In credit card payments, if you don't pay at the end of your credit and if you go for minimum amount due, then you are in a trap. That interest which the bank charges on credit card is mind well between 3.5 to 4% per month, which is legally they are charging it, but socially unacceptable rate, and that is called usury. This is usually charged by private lenders. जैसे आपको बहुत सारे private lenders मिलेंगे जो जिनका rate starts from 3% per annum, and you never come out of it. You are down and you are always in that vicious circle. One very important, I don't know whether people have heard about it, that opportunity cost. That is a usury which is always charged. It is the greed of the lender. Opportunity, I'll give you a classic example. Okay, I wanted 10 lakh rupees. I went to a borrower. I told him I'll need on a so and so date 10 lakhs after a week. But अल्लाह का करना क्या है, मेरे को उसकी रिक्वायरमेंट नहीं आई. And then I told the lender, okay, thank you very much. I'm not. So he'll say, no, you'll have to pay me 1 lakh rupees. Arey bhai, for what? I had spared those 10 lakh rupees for you for 10 days, but now I have lost the opportunity of that investment, and now you are refusing. You'll need to pay me that opportunity cost. This is called usury. This is the interest which is socially unacceptable. And then interest on interest, which generally bank in the name of penalty, they charges. Interest free, everybody knows, a financial practice that draws the inspiration from Quran and prohibits interest and harmful practices. It accounts for moral consequences of financial transactions and ensure it is fair and equitable to all parties in terms of risk, affordable, and responsibility borne by all parties. Now, I'll put a question. Is interest haram only in Islam? What do you think? Azmat, Hidayat, please come to the next slide. Surprised to see the slide, right? But yes, it's true. Not a single religion allows interest. Interest is prohibited, forbidden in Hinduism, in Judaism, Christianity, and obviously in Islam. There is a Surah Al Imran where Allah has permitted trade and forbidden interest. Not a single religion allows interest. Yes, not a single religion. In ancient Hinduism, 400 BC, Vashishta, an ancient Hindu lawmaker, forbade interest taking by higher caste and Brahmins and Kshatriyas. Similarly, Judaism has its roots in biblical passage of forbidding and discouraging of taking interest. Same with Christianity, right from 5th century AD to 8th century AD, till as early as 1311, Pope made ban on usury, made absolute, and declared all legislation in its favor null and void. And for Islam, we all know it is a well established in the Holy Quran. Okay. Against interest, Allah has permitted trade. Okay. Do trading, do business, and forbidden interest. So interest is forbade in each and every religion, and it is a social stigma not only for Muslim, but if you see, it's an ethical practice for everybody to not go for interest. I'll give you one example in this. There was a very good, very big corporate honchok in I would say early 80s and mid 80s. And he was a very big competitor of Reliance. At that time, Reliance was more into textile in the name of only Vimal. At that time, there was one company in 85, 86, Orke Silk Mills. His MD chairman, Mr. Kapil Mehra, in one of its lectures, he had specifically mentioned interest is like a cancerous cell for the financial system of any economic activity. You borrow money, it's easy, but to service that debt by way of interest, it's like a cancerous cell which multiplies in your body. Same, the interest on interest, it multiplies in your financial system, and you never ever come out of that vicious circle. So he himself had termed that as the cancerous cell of the financial system. Let's go further into the details about, so why borrowed funds on interest are harmful to business. You all, everybody knows, okay, why it is that harmful in business. According to financial analyst, any financial analyst, he will first see is what's your debt to equity ratio. If your debt to equity ratio is high, that is a sign of your weak business enterprise. Second, as I said, debt is addictive. It's a trap. And once you come into a debt spiral trap, you are gone. You never come out of it. It's a very bad, vicious cycle. The decision to go for debt, the moment you take that decision, it alters the course of and condition of your own life, not of your business alone, but of your life. You no longer own it, your business, rather you are owned by someone, because your entire life will go in servicing your debts. So you are not the owner of your business, rather you become owned by someone, either by banks, by financial institution. You see, major of the companies which are full of debts by the financial institution, their board of directors, their representatives are dictating. So rather you are working, you become not the owner, but you become the executive of your own company, dictated by those financial institutes. It's a trap. It's a trap. You spend more to earn role, result in borrowing more to fill the gap. What happened? You The vicious circle takes you into such a hole, you just try to fill up that hole by earning more. The more you earn, the more the gap increases, and you fill it into it. Ultimately, your income goes in repayment of your debt and interest payment. Thus, you keep borrowing. This is the vicious trap. You keep borrowing to maintain your cycle of productivity and lifestyle, which ultimately gives you stress and lead to a disaster. This is called a spiral trap of interest. It's a bad cycle, very bad, vicious cycle. Once you get into a debt, it's difficult to come out of this vicious trap. One very big corporate, as I said, has termed this, because of this vicious cycle, has termed this as a cancerous cell. So, how to keep ourselves away from this dreadful disease or dreadful which is coming life cycle is to concentrate on our financial management, on our operational management.
Talabhai, you're muted. Talabhai, you're muted. Once again, it's a kind request to all the participants to please be on mute at all times when the speaker is speaking, because it gets really disturbing for the speaker, and people who are attending this on a Sunday morning will not be able to listen to the session which is going on. I see Irshad Ahmad Attar, you're on mute. It's very loud. Uh, yeah, so it's a kind request again. If you all, we're going to put you all on mute again one more time, and then Talha bhai, you can unmute yourself and then start from here, inshallah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm now on mute. Okay. So
Yeah.
this is what actually interest is. Allah करे हम सबको अल्लाह पाक इस सूद से, इस इंटरेस्ट से, एनी फॉर्म ऑफ इंटरेस्ट से अल्लाह हमारे बिजनेस को भी बचाए, और अल्लाह हमको इस इंटरेस्ट बेस्ड बोरोड फंड से बचाए, हमारे बिजनेस में ऐसी तरक्की दे कि हमारा फाइनेंशियल मैनेजमेंट सिस्टम इतना इम्प्रूव हो जाए, हमारा ऑपरेशनल मैनेजमेंट इतना ट्रांसपेरेंट हो जाए कि हम कैश फ्लो में पॉजिटिव आ जाएं, और अल्लाह करे हमें कभी भी इस किस्म की बोरोड फंड्स की जरूरत ना पड़े. अलबत्ता if at all to expand, please next slide please, we need funds to expand our growth. So for what purpose? What is interest free in that business? What is the purpose? So Sharia finance, that is it's called, it's an asset based and need based economy. So जैसे हमको कोई अगर हमारे expansion की जरूरत आई, या so there are interest free opportunities available. It will create a perfect foundation for just an ethical business practices. It creates, see, the Sharia finance is, as I told you in the first slide itself, it's on the basis of sharing. So it creates a habit of sharing and caring between an owner and its investor. And what happens? By regular audit, because the Sharia finance, if you take Sharia finance, there are lot many restrictions. So for that, the Sharia scholars goes for a regular or quarterly audits for whether to see whether you are whether inside or outside the Sharia purview, whether it's a business is ethical or it's gone little bit it's gone in un-Islamic activity. So it has a regular checks for your in the terms of audit, which also will get checked of your financial flaws. So they will look at your financials also together with the Sharia audits. So you get the checks and you are within the checks of the Sharia scholars, and your business always remains an interest free, and it will create a very strong foundation for the further growth of your business. Now, in case if you need for this growth, you need a Sharia finance. So, what are the interest-free finances available with us? Next slide, please. After we understood very clearly now the financial management system and disadvantages of borrowed funds, let's now know the alternate methods of funding which can serve as a lifeline to small businesses. And these alternate finance options can be both equity based and non-equity based. So let us study what are the alternate methods of funding which we as a business, Muslim businesses, or any business who wants to go on an ethical business practices can avail of. So in equity based, the first and foremost very nice, very opportunistic method of funding which we can get is through initial public offering. Now, whenever the word IPO comes, oh, you feel this is not my cup of tea. Mind well, I'm not talking about the main stock exchange. Yes, in the main stock exchange, which you daily hear the Sensex or the Nifty, that is a major stock exchange where the criteria of listing is about 25 crores of your equity. So we feel, but this is beyond my scope. But now, recently, in 2010, Bombay Stock Exchange has come out with a new SME exchange, small medium enterprise exchange. I would say rather ये तो हमारे लिए इन लोगों ने खोला हुआ है, because the criteria, if you will see, is such that I think uh, lot many SMEs, MSMEs in the manufacturing or in the trading segment have got an opportunity to get themselves listed through this initial public offering and get themselves listed on the SMEs. So, what is SME exchange? In 2010, it was recommended by PMO task force. It was established to provide opportunity to entrepreneurs to raise equity capital for growth and expansion of SMEs. It's a very simple and doable listing guideline. See, when I say simple and doable guidelines, I mean it. Only post issue face capital of 1 crore to maximum 25 crore. See, 1 crore की post issue face value आपकी equity है और 1 crore is nothing. Believe me, it's nothing. हमारे private enterprises में what I've generally seen is that we keep equity based. If it is a family owned enterprise, we have 25 to 30% equity structure, rest 70% structure is family deposits, and we take the profit from that family deposits. See, family deposits, if you keep, it goes into a borrowed fund sort of system, and you work on a very meager equity. If you have that structure, my advice would be to convert those family deposits into an equity, come within a threshold of 1 crore, and go for SME listing. What are the other criteria? Very, very simple criteria. Net tangible assets of 1 crore only. Net worth at least 1 crore with a track record of profit distribution to at least 2 years out of 3 years. See, generally, I don't know whether because of the taxation point of view, generally we private entrepreneurs don't show much of the profit. हम profit बता के tax भरना एक गुनाह समझते हैं. For me, to pay the tax is one sort of an investment. So what we do is we show negligible amount of profit, whereas we are कोई भी ऐसा धंधा नहीं है कि जिसमें 18-20% से कम अगर बिजनेस में प्रॉफिट होगा तो आदमी वो अपना धंधा बंद ही कर देगा. So profitability is there, generation is there, but because of taxation, we try to avoid showing profit. I would suggest okay, go for the profitability. It will increase the net worth of yourself and even your company. So what is the criteria? If your net worth is 1 crore, then you need to show profit of at least 2 preceding years out of 3. If you're not showing profit, then your net worth should be minimum 3 crores. So with such basic guidelines, it is very good opportunity for SMEs to raise equity on this platform. Second is venture capital. This is a very common phenomenon, and we had recently at IICCB tried to bring in the investors and the business owners on one platform so that the business owners can showcase their ideas, showcase their businesses to the venture capitalists. So what is venture capitalist? This is a private equity which is generally provided to startup companies and small businesses that have long-term growth potential. It cannot always be a monetary form, but it can be a form of providing technical or managerial expertise. There is no interest outflow, but there could be an exit clause. Here you will feel अरे हमारे तो क्लास ही नहीं है वेंचर बॉस, ऐसा नहीं है. We need to be, as my earlier slides, again I would recreate, be transparent, have a good corporate governance. You have brilliant ideas, you have brilliant project going on, you have got brilliant business acumenship, but where we lack and which the venture capital wants is the good transparency, your company information, and a very strong corporate governance. Mind well, if you have got these three things in your company, there would be a queue outside your businesses for the venture capitalists and for the angel investors to line up, to align with you, and to join hands with you, because it's a win-win situation for them and for you. So we need to be more transparent, because they are well-off investors also. It's a combination of investment bank also, and they are large financial institution also as a venture capitalist. Third is angel investors. See, these are a very small group individual. They are the leaders in entrepreneurial system. They might be the big CEOs of the big companies, and by virtue of their salaries, they have accumulated wealth, and now they want. So they have that expertise to jump into a good enterprise. An angel investor will only invest in a very initial stage of your enterprise at an incubation level. But again, I know at this stage what sort of a projection of financial you will show. You need to convince the angel investors your ideas, your future 5 years plan, your projectivity in terms of return on investment, as well as return on capital employed or return on capital equity, because that 5 year plan, if that is workable, doable, there are angel investors. But for that, again, you need a very brilliant idea, need to convince these angel investors. Now coming to the fourth point is crowdfunding. Not many people were asking me, what is this crowdfunding? Can we go for the crowdfunding? What is crowdfunding? The name itself suggests it's a multiple individuals on a social media platform. Very small amounts raised from a large pool of individuals. A very recent concept, and a practice of funding a project of ventures by raising small amounts from a large people, typically on internet, as I said, on social media platforms, and more it is used for charity purpose and donations. Crowdfunding, you will observe on the Facebook or any social media, they raise funds, but basically it is for charity, for any social cause, and these are in form of donations. Crowdfunding for equity, according to the rules of in India, equity based crowdfunding is illegal. But similar to crowdfunding, there is one more form of lending called P2P lending. What is P2P lending? It is basically peer-to-peer lending. Same as crowdfunding, you have a group of individuals within your business circle, within your community, within your social circle. You collect the amount, and it's called from peer to peer, and it is again a small amount of fund collected. And this P2P lending is regulated by RBI. You need to study various sides of P2P lending. So alternate to crowdfunding, I would suggest for a business enterprise, it is a P2P lending. So it's a practice of lending money to individuals or business through online services that match the lenders with the borrowers. Websites that facilitated P2P lending have greatly, or in past few years, have greatly increased. I would suggest go study these P2P websites and try to understand first before jumping in. It's an adoption as an alternate method of financing. I will give you a classic example of this P2P lending. There is a one community in Gujarat, a Momin community, in and around from Sidhpur to Palanpur. Uh, Majority of them are also based out of Bombay. They have a classic P2P lending, must be a recent phenomenon regulated by RBI in our times recently. But this community, on the same principles of P2P lending, is doing their business very, very successfully, I think, since last 100 years. They have a restaurant business, majority of them, right from Bombay till, I would say, Ajmer, because I've been to Ajmer. I've seen there on the National Highway 8 there are n number of restaurants owned by this community, and all the restaurants are working on the principles of P2P lending. So it is a very classic, very nice, very, now since RBI has regulated, so I would say it is a very well organized form of lending, which I think we should, to increase our business and to bring our uh, family people in our business through this P2P lending. I think this would be a classic case for the entire upliftment of the community as a whole. If you are a big businessman or medium-sized enterprise, I think bring in your community people, bring in your families people, your social relatives within your business organization. But again, I would again and again say, again, you need to be transparent. You need to be have a very strong corporate governance, because when they jump in as a P2P, you are the amanat holders of those money. You need to be अमानत में खयानत बिल्कुल नहीं होनी चाहिए खुदा की जात को देखते हुए. But this, if you do it on a very genuine, this P2P lending by way of RBI regulation also, we can take the maximum advantage of this P2P lending. And last is hybrid finance. As the name itself suggests, it's a combo of equity plus debt. It can be structured in an Islamic Sharia compliant way. There are quite a few organizations which develop this hybrid form of financing. It's called sukuk, where equity and debt could be combined and be as a very strong financing mode of financing. It's a very well can be structured in a Sharia compliant way. So now let's go on our most important and the non-equity based form of alternate methods of funding. Ijara. Everybody knows what Ijara is. These non-equity based products helps you in maintaining your equity structure in a company. These are you don't dilute your equity, but on the other hand, it helps you in maintaining that equity structure equilibrium in a company. It helps you unlocking your capital, and most important, it's compliant with all Indian rules and regulations. So ijara, it's the Islamic word. The generic word, English word is called leasing. Mind well, all these banks who are giving a car loan, calling themselves, okay, we are giving on lease, it's not leasing, it's pure car finance. It's a pure finance, interest based finance based on EMIs, where there is a structure of interest. Leasing is a totally different concept, more prevalent, yes, in even in home loans, in car loans, in asset based loans. So leasing, where I would, basic example, in a car loan, if you take it on lease, the ownership lies with the lessee. You just pay the lease rentals for that, and at the end of the lease period, if you surrender the car, it is called finance lease. And if you take the car back, it is, or if the car is taken back by the lessee, it's called operational lease. And that if you take it back, then it is a finance lease. So as I said, financial lease and in financial lease agreement, ownership of the asset, the ownership of the asset is transferred to the lessee. But in operational lease, the asset is retained by the lessor at the end of the agreement. It's the most simple and easy mode of Sharia compliance. I think a lot many people know about leasing and people are using it. Is very prevalent and is a very good form of finance in industry. Musharaka is again very good form of, it's a sort of a joint venture where profit sharing based financing for working capital and projects. It's concept of sharing the risk and the rewards. So it can be very well structured when any investor joins in with you, and we can comply that with the Indian laws, and we can create a joint venture partnership with the investor so that the profit sharing and all the legalities, everything is in black and white and signed on the dotted lines by both the investors and the financer and the business owners before entering into a Musharaka deal. Asset financing and invoice financing. See, asset, it's generally used to cover short-term need for working capital. These both, asset financing and invoice factoring, are rampantly used by businesses in today's world. And you'll be surprised, these both are Sharia compliant products and very well used by very, very big corporate houses in India and abroad for their asset financing and their discounting of their invoices. It's basically asset financing is nothing for it's a short-term need for your working capital by leveraging your investments, inventory, and using it that for working capital. So if you don't want to use, if you have got your surplus inventory, or as I said, which is actually very bad, for stock management, you have to be a very strong stock management. But suppose if you have got a large amount of inventory and the assets or the machinery which is unused, I think, and you need a working capital, this can be converted, this can be leveraged and made a Sharia compliant product and get the financing for our working capital needs. Similarly, invoice factoring is done to leverage the accounts receivables from customers for better mobilization of funds, that is reinvesting in operations or improving the productivity. So, but in my earlier slides, that is a contrary, this is a popular approach. But if you take the contrarian approach of creating a cash flow environment in a positive way, then I don't think you ever need an asset financing or invoice factoring too. And these both forms of products can be made Sharia compliant by way of Murabaha finance. Murabaha also referred to as cost plus financing. See, this is the fourth form of Ijara, Musharaka, and the third, which is very important, is Murabaha, where it is designed in such a way that beforehand the cost plus financing. See, there is no hidden cost. Whatever cost plus you make a charge, it is predetermined before you sign the agreement, and there is no such clause of penalty if you miss it out, but you shouldn't miss it out. So there is no hidden cost. In interest, what generally happens is, it is, yes, cost plus interest charge, but there are a lot many hidden charges which you don't know. In Muraba, the document, the agreement is formed in such a way that there is, everything is in black and white before you sign on a dotted line. So as such, it's not at all. If you seek a cost plus financing, you might think it's an interest, No, as it is not an interest bearing loan, but a very acceptable form of credit sale under Islamic law. So in today's world, Murabaha has become most popular financial technique with even the Islamic banks. Next slide, please. So with this, I think we come to a conclusion about in asset and non-assets, equity based and non-equity based. So now it's up to you, up to the business owners, all about choosing the right product that can support your business in terms of there is downturn to revenue. Furthermore, these alternate funding solutions offer, as we discussed, diversification in terms of lenders, maturity, and security packages. And lastly, and not the least, most important, it strengthens the financial structure of your business enterprise. With this, I would like to conclude on my this detailed presentation. I'm very, very thankful to all the participants for listening with such attention, and definitely in debt uh, with all of you. And thanks to IICCB. And IICCB is one such platform which is there to facilitate, to counsel you, to uplift your business opportunities. And we at IICCB are always there. And I think we are coming up with a very detailed event, probably from next Sunday, where you have your questions. There would be a team with our president himself attending to that advisory services for 30 minutes. So take the opportunity, try to be Sharia compliant, and try to keep yourself away from this interest bearing products, and be transparent, be strong in corporate governance, and last but not the least, improve our financial management and operational management system so that more and more people, investors, or anybody are interested in you and take handhold on you and take you to a certain limit. Thank you very much once again. I would like to request, I think, Azmat Bhai or Hidayat Bhai to take it over.
Yeah, Jazakallahu khair, Talab bhai, for this wonderful session. It was very, very interesting and very insightful, I must say. And we have a couple of moderators who are there, and we have a lot of questions which are flowing in into the chat box as we were having this session during the session. So I take this, I hand this over to Brother Hidayat and Amir Sharif to moderate these questions, and I will be allowing people to, take the questions at the end of it. So we're going to be, what we will do is, we will have the questions which are written already in the chat window, being taken up one by Amir Sharif and Hidayat. And once this is over, we will also have a short Q&A session with the people who will be allowed to speak directly to the speaker. I guess this is all clear. If you all have understood my instructions, please go to the chat window and type yes. Yeah, so yes, people are all listening and it's all nice. And I kindly request all the people again to kindly rename yourself, because it will not look nice if I call you out as Vivo 1803 or Redmi Note 9 or iPhone. So I would love to call you by your name which has been given. Alhamdulillah. So please rename yourself. You just have to go right click and then rename yourself. So we will get started. So the rule is very, very simple for the Q&A, for the engagement. We will allow you all to unmute yourself and post your questions directly to the speaker. You will have to use a raise the hand icon which is there. Okay, you just have to raise your hand. We'll keep a watch on the participants' questions, and then we will take that question directly. Okay, so somebody is asking about the recording part. Nasrullah bhai, this is actually live streamed on YouTube, which will stay there as for public viewing. So it is available on IICCB India. And to all the people who have joined us today, I see plenty of businessmen who've joined in from all over India. We have one brother who has been messaging and been consistently telling us about his business. One is Mir Nasir Ali Khan, who is from Hyderabad. It's really good to have you, brother, with us today. And we also have one more person who's been consistently writing, Mr. MG Rabbani, who is heading a company in Delhi. So we have all these entrepreneurs and all the people who have come in on a Sunday morning for this lovely session. I hope this has been really insightful. And over to you, Hidayat and Amir Bhai.
Okay, Assalamu alaikum. Thanks. Alhamdulillah, it was a very insightful session and very encouraging session for a lot of our community entrepreneurs, and they definitely are very optimistic that they will be able to do Sharia compliant and halal business, exploring all the opportunities for investments in a halal way. Thanks, Talabai, for a wonderful session. And there are questions are pouring in. So the first question which we received way back is from Dr. Shafiq Ahmed. He is asking Sukuk bonds in Middle East. Is it Sharia compliant? If you are aware of this.
Lot many sukuk funds, sukuk bonds are done in Malaysia and also in Middle East, and generally these are used for the infrastructural infrastructure projects, large scale projects of the cities and the counties in Malaysia and Middle East, USA, which are structured in Middle East. As per the Sharia scholars, yes, you need to, I think we need to we need to structure those bonds in a Sharia compliant way. So there are companies in India also, in the terms of NBFCs, who do this sort of structuring. So definitely it is possible, but it would be on a case-to-case basis, and what is the requirement and what sort of projects it would be involved in.
Yeah, thank you, Tarabai. The other question is from Sabreen Khan. This is a very straightforward question. Can we take interest from non-Muslim organizations?
All non-banks are basically non-Muslims only. Interest is interest. Whether you take it from मुसलमान तो देगा ही नहीं, क्योंकि उसके लिए तो इंटरेस्ट लेना और देना दोनों ही हराम है. So ज्यादातर तो मुसलमान देगा ही नहीं, इंटरेस्ट की काम करेगा ही नहीं. बट इंटरेस्ट लेना और देना किसी से भी, it's clear cut in Quran, which is prohibited, and the alternate for interest is trade.
Yeah, absolutely. This question came much before the webinar started, around 11:25. So I'm sure the member got good information about how they can explore their business opportunities without interest. So the next question is from Dr. Shafiq again. When we discourage interest-linked loans, people ask, "Are you willing to loan the fund?" How to deal with this situation?
Can he elaborate the question, please?
Maybe what we can do is we can allow Dr.
Can I
Shafiq.
speak?
Yeah. Yes, Doctor. Please go ahead.
Yeah, Assalamu alaikum. Normally, like when we emphasize the importance of interest-free financial transactions or discourage the interest-linked loans or funding, normally people say, "Okay, lend me money," or you give the loan if you're so worried about the interest. And so, I mean, when we are in a process to encourage the interest-free atmosphere, we come across such questions. So how do we deal with these things?
See, the interest taking, if you don't take interest from a bank because you don't want to give interest, similarly that money you can't lend it to somebody also. If yes, it means you want to lend it to your friend, it means this way. You take the money on loan and then you don't use it and you give it to somebody. That's what your question is?
No, sir. Like suppose if you are, let's say, I'm just trying to put you into an example. Like suppose if you say interest is bad, okay, I'll ask you, okay, lend me money for my project. I'm asking you directly, like for example, like this. So it's an embarrassment situation, like when we say interest is
Take
bad,
him,
and people,
take
yeah,
him, take him as a joint venture partner. If you
okay,
want, yeah, that is a form of a musharaka. And in musharaka, you can go for a project to project partnership. That deed, musharaka deed, would be specific not for your business, entire business, but for that particular project. And obviously, when you need funds for that project, and you don't want to take loan, I think this is the best way to form a joint venture partnership for that particular project. I have seen among the non-Muslims. Suppose he's in an infrastructure project, and he got a tender for, say, building a flyover. So what he'll do is, he for that particular flyover, he will create an SVP, a special purpose vehicle, and make a joint venture partnership for that particular project itself. So I think in real estate, these sort of deals are done quite often on a project to project basis. So I think if you go on a musharaka for a project to project deal, there is absolutely, it would be on the contrary, it would enhance the bottom line of your company in totality if you go with different projects, different joint venture partners, and ultimately you take your share, he takes his share, and your share comes in the main company. So I think musharaka would be the best form of mode of operations for you in that case.
Jazakallah khair, sir.
Yeah, so the next question is, yeah, like Brother Asmat mentioned, the name reads Redmi 9 Pro. So we request members to at least rename to their name, so we can call your name. So what is ROCE? Not ROC, ROCE is the question.
That is return on capital employed. See, capital employed is not only equity plus the borrowed funds or your family deposits, whatever the capital which has been employed together with the capital equity structure, you add everything and divide by the net profit, you will get the ratio of return on capital employed.
Okay, thanks, Sarabhai. The next question is from Dr. Shafiq itself. Is there a Sharia compliant model drafts, partnership, LLP, private limited, etc.? Kindly share the Sharia compliant drafts for each of those organization types.
See, what I have seen, our generally the partnership deeds or LLP deeds which are there, so they are all as per the Indian laws. We need to tweak in, because we have to take into consideration our Indian laws into consideration, because at the time of dispute or anything, you need to identify the jurisdiction. So I would suggest go with the Indian law partnership or LLP. Put in your Sharia products and Sharia compliant. You can put as many clauses as you like, which are not against the Indian laws. So why to duplicate or to reinvent the wheel? There are ready-made agreements in the form of for partnership and for the LLPs. Tweak in, put in your condition, because what Islam says is everything, whatever you do, has to be predetermined. So put it on the piece of paper in that your partnership deed or your LLP deed, whatever conditions which are not there as per the Indian laws, but which are in guidelines with the Indian laws, put your condition in your deed. It will become a Sharia compliant deed.
Okay, thank you, Rabbi. Next question is from Brother Imran Merchant. He says there are some businesses that are inherently negative cash flow. For example, export-oriented businesses. The payment from buyer is immediate, but the GST refund can take up to 2 to 3 months. The GST is 18%, depending on the product. Gets blocked every time export happen, and in just 5 to 6 shipment, the whole capital wipes out. I think this is a concern about the cash transactions which we spoke.
No, absolutely, Imran bhai. Yeah, your question. Yes, this is the basic hindrance which the exporters generally face. any refund from any government authority takes long time. I would suggest there are as I said, invoice factoring and discounting of the bills. Prior to that, you can get your cash amount back into your system, or I think you can take the help of a musharka deal or a joint venture deal for from a case to case basis. So you need to take into consideration what particular on a what transaction it is, what sort of consignment it is, and on the basis of that you need to identify where the amount can be more generated, and looking into that I think we need to take the call.
Thank you, Talabai. Just give me a second. And the question is endless, Alhamdulillah. So there's a lot of excitement in the people.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll take one question. Talabai was actually mentioning during his presentation that no cash buying and no cash selling, right? No credit or no this one. Pertaining to that, there's Sister Arshia who was put in a message asking how is this related to services business? Because normally services business में क्या होता है कि we give credit and we render our service and then take the money back, right? So that's how it works. So how do we make this cash flow rich, all the services business? That's a question, if I understood this correctly.
See, in that because you also have your suppliers, right?
Right.
You need to have a very strong negotiation skills with your supplier. When you are not getting, suppose you render a service and you get the funds after a month of the event, then similarly you also negotiate with your supplier, and that is where I had mentioned you should have a very strong relationship, or rather you need to build a relationship with your suppliers and make a deal of that. So once you get the payment from your customer, you deal it with your suppliers. So that could be one way of creating a positive cash flow in your event industry, or in those industry where you are providing upfront service, and you are getting the payment at a later stage.
Okay, so the next question is from our own Nizam Bhai, Syed Nizamuddin Saab, who's a MC member of ISCCB for Business Networking. The question is, when we sell on cash, then the volume is not achieved. Most of the retailers don't want to purchase on cash. There are competitors who will offer credit if we don't. How do we overcome this? So
That is
credit is
your
competitive advantage, is what he says.
That is your business acumenship, how to do that. That is very important. So what I suggest, on the basis of Hazrat Abdul Rahman bin Auf radiallahu ta'ala's principle, with a bare minimum, create a small retailers and a large customers. So as I said, I increase the ratio of 60% from retail investors, or make it 60% large investors and 40% small retailers. So to small retailers, offer them a huge cash discount, which is tempting to them, which nobody, and I think this cash discount is such, if their profit of margin increases of the retailer, then why should he not pay cash and go on make a difference in such a way your cash discount is more attractive than your credit sale. And to the large customers, I think you need to give them a voluminous business. If you do this volume, your level of discount would be this much, and if you do this much volume, the level of discount would be this much. This I have seen when I was doing an audit in my early 90s for one of the detergent company. It was in FMCG, and they had a similar problem of batch production also, and mass consumable items. So this is how they created their entire cash flow by segregating their customers into small customers. And you can't do away with the small customers also. And obviously you can't do away with the large voluminous customers who will only buy on credit. So your scale of discount should be in such a staggered manner that both large voluminous customers and the retail both are attracted towards you and both are eager to buy it from you. So on the principle of this, I think you need to create your yeah, the selling structure, and you need to educate your sales staff who are going on field. Obviously this competition do come in FMCG sectors and fast movable consumable goods. So this is how this FMCG works. और आप भी जो दुकान में आप जाएंगे, if it is a provision store, he will also try to sell you that product. If that particular product has got variety of manufacturers, he will sell you only that product on which he is getting more discount and more profitability. तो अगर कोई दुकान वाला आपको डाबर का माल ज्यादा बेच रहा है, मतलब समझो कि डाबर is giving him more cash discount rather than ITC or vice versa. So that is how you need to take the call.
Thanks, Talabhai. Next question is from brother Shahid Ashmi. Financial management is good for business. Is it the only solution for financing business needs? Well, finance is required at many stages, looking more on alternative options. Also important for beginner to start with financing. Management will come later. Alternate options in Sharia compliant way is what he's asking.
Yeah, absolutely. As I said, if suppose if it is your startup, obviously financial management comes at a very later stage. But in that, for example, it is a startup, it is in incubation state, then you need to show your skill of projections of 5 years and 6 years, so that the angel investors or the alternate mode of investors who you want to target are attracted towards your business in terms of your projections in financials, and also your ideas, your product, what scale of product it is, which should attract the angel investors, because angel investor would be the first one to jump in for any startup which is a 1 year, 2 year, 3 year old. Later on, because venture capital will always come in once the angel investor is out, then only venture capital generally invest in. So you need to be very careful in giving your projections, your method, and how the corporate governance would play the role in your growth structure, would attract any alternate based investor or alternate based of mode of financing.
Thank you, Talabhai, for the satisfying answer. I'm just looking for next.
We have another very interesting question, Talabhai, with regards to trading in the stock market. Okay, this is a question which is asked by Mohammed Abdul Khalik. Khalik Bhai is asking, is options trading allowed as per Sharia, and what are the various kind of equity markets in which we can look at trading, and what is allowed and what is not allowed as per the Sharia?
Basically, I started my career as a portfolio manager in 1992. I did my short-term course after my chartered accountancy in portfolio management. So, and at that time it was only equity, and it was pre and post Harshad Mehta era. So, and I have seen lots of ups and downs. For me, stock market is a very good, very nice wealth creation opportunity. Though trading is allowed, I do not allow, even at that time when I was into active retail stockbroking, I never allowed my customers to even do propagate, or rather promote them to do day trading also. It's a long term investment avenue where you create your wealth. It is not question of profit, it is a question of wealth. Futures and options came at a very later stage. These are not for the retail investors. These are basically the hedging instruments for the financial institutes who have thousands of crores of stocks lying with them, and they hedge against the ups and downs of the stock market. It is not at all for the real investors. We should not even step in that lane or by lane of futures and option. I am not talking of haram and halal. It is purely haram. I am not even going in that direction. But as a prudent investor, never ever go in that way, in that direction. Go for pure equity investment with a long term horizon of 5 to 10 years.
Okay,
Uh,
that's a very good and valid advice. Need of the hour, Talha bhai. Further to this question, I had another question that was there in my mind. A lot of people keep asking: is delivery of the equity is permitted in the stock market before you buy?
Delivery in the sense,
Delivery, as in there is a question which is asked. Delivery, is in a sense, product. People go in the market and they short before buying. They'll be on a sell side. ये जो commodities trading
again,
होता
I
है,
will tell who does
usually,
the short selling. I'll tell you who does the short selling.
yeah,
Short selling is always done by that investor who has that chunk. I would not say short selling, who has that chunk of stock and who is anticipating a fall in the market. He short sells, and if the market rises, he covers it so that he gets the profit. If not, he delivers in the stock, give the delivery of that stock. Short selling in other sense, it's pure speculation. जो चीज तुम्हारे पास है ही नहीं, उसको बेचना, ये speculation है. And speculation is purely haram and najaiz. It's in the Sharia, in the laws of the Sharia.
Lahavai, I have a very important question to ask. We were having a discussion in our ISCCB investor conclave group about the terms of investors for the equity investment. As we all know that equity investment is 100% halal, alhamdulillah, mostly which happens in the startup for angel investment or venture capital investment and then private equity investment. But these investors, definitely these are not coming from our community. These are traditional investors, professional investors. They are expecting an exit after a few years, generally between 3 to 5 years. So the one of the investment clauses I can just read out. The clauses will include drag along rights. They will drag along the investors to the sale if the exit is not happening, and then they will talk about other founders will they'll request founders to buy the shares. That is one more exit clause which we will have. And one important exit clause, if nothing is happening, is they'll say investors will expect a 30% or some percentage return on investment after a few years. So that topic was debated that this particular clause is not halal. So I conveyed that yes, it may be a gray area, but definitely this is a very least probability in startup investment. Startup investment, generally a bigger investor comes and buys out the earlier investors or something else will happen. So how do we address this clause in the term sheet for startup investments?
See, basically, yeah, absolutely. This is a very, very gray area in venture capitalist or the angel investor, the exit clause. Generally, I've seen, I think, almost 10 to 12% are failures of the angel investors or the venture capitalists could not find the way out of their investment, and their investment becomes dead. So then they put a clause of some fixed sort of an income in the terms of which is calculated on the basis of interest. So it is a gray area. we can do away this with either creating convertible debentures in the initial startup. Okay, if the portion remains non-convertible, it is a sort of a equity which gets converted over a period of 3 years or 4 years with an exit route. But very prudently, I think still nobody has come out of this situation. It is a gray area. It is we still even the Sharia scholars need to come on this. Still, they are not clear because the exit route, everybody doesn't find that exit route so simple and easy. So the investor always the non basically we have very less Sharia compliant investors who just take it in the stride and to do because for them profit and loss is a equal sharing, but for others it is a area of concern. They need to be more vigilant for the owners, and they need to take the call taking into consideration or taking the investor into consideration of how to move about. And I think mutually they should agree on certain points, because even the Sharia scholars have not come out clear cut on these guidelines.
Yeah, because just to add to that, you mentioned about convertible debenture. Convertible debenture is just a loan, and that gets converted into equity at a specific trigger. It could be a period or a success or a next acquisition, whatever it is. And once it turns to equity, it will also have even a CCD. I myself have prepared term sheet. CCD also will have the similar exit clauses, because CCD is going to convert to the equity at any point of time before the acquisition happens.
Generally, investors also prefer the preferential shares where they identify what would be the profit of margin, and depending on that they keep the coupon rate valid, and which is non-negotiable. Okay, by this they keep it depending on the profitability of the entire project. They keep a coupon rate in the preferential shares. So that is also one way out of having the preference shares. You don't come into equity. You are there as a preference shareholder. You get the fixed amount from the profit returns. Even if there is no profit, I think that amount goes into the kitty of the investor. But still, these are all very, very much gray areas, which even the Sharia scholars need to, because as I said in my earlier slide, interest is forbidden in each and every religion, but after a certain period of time, lot many religions have diluted the clause of interest. Even in Islam, if you see, interest is purely prohibited. But if you see the Sharia guidelines, the basic guideline initially when it was started, I very well remember in 96, 97 when it was in infancy stage, it was debt to equity ratio should be less than 33%. Means 33% debt was allowed of your equity. If your equity was 100 rupees, 33 rupees of debt was allowed as a debt in your equity. This was initially. It went on dilution. Now the guideline is debt to market capitalization should be less than 33%. Now market capitalization is huge compared to equity. So even the Sharia scholars coming to when they come with a lot of objections and deliberations, they also get themselves diluted. So I always prefer that yes, we should on a safe side, we should totally remain away from interest-based investment rather than going in this nitty-gritty. So there are still, I would say, after even 28 years, Islamic banking, it's still its infancy stage, it's still evolving, and many things are coming up, getting diluted also.
Yeah, thank you, Talabri. Just to add to that, you mentioned about coupon. Preferential shares won't have coupon, they will have dividends. And startups generally don't have profits, so no dividend is given.
No, that dividend is fixed dividend, I suppose. That is a fixed dividend.
That is not halal.
It is based on that coupon. because equity shares, what you get dividend is from the profit. If no profit, no dividend. But in preferential shares, there is a fixed amount determined before, okay, whether you get the profit or you don't get the profit. This would be the amount shared. So that is a gray area in terms of startups.
Yeah, so just to add to that, we should not recommend that clause for our startup, for our community members, because it won't be halal. And at the same time, coupon is a very useful tool for attracting investors on a CCD, convertible debenture model,
Yes.
where that remains halal 100% if you put coupon as a discount on the valuation for the next round. That
Absolutely.
is the best way of startup investment I would recommend to anybody who is raising funds. Okay, Brother Asmat, do you have any question?
That way. We have Azimuddin. So we'll open this up for the people who are coming in and raising hands. I see one hand constantly being raised from a long time. Azimuddin Bhai, if you can unmute yourself and you can ask your question if you have any concerns or any questions to the speaker directly.
Yeah, Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
It was very nice experience actually, and I'm very thankful to all the speakers there. My question was actually, when we compare our community in commerce or trading to other people or people from other communities, we are always lagging behind. So is it due to the reason that we are a bit confused and more focused on seeing everything, whether it is Sharia compliant or not? And thereby we try to extricate our way from this, what you call totally interest-based and totally fiat-based economy, where nothing is being fair enough or transparent at the topper level. So it is almost like we are trying to, if I exemplify it, like we are trying to serve a halal food in a brothel house, you can say, and feeling great that we are complying with Sharia. But our being a Muslim community, if our goal is to make everything halal at our side, as well as to convey a message to people at other side, then I think we are not doing any good service to feel satisfied about. In fact, our service is perpetuating already the fraudulent system. So if I think you people know all the thing behind this economic model, where ever since the Bretton Woods Agreement got cancelled, from $35 per ounce was the rate fixed for a gold-based economy. But after Nixon shock in 1972, everything got, all the details. So from that day, we are not at all, seeing any transparency in the world economy. And it is a known fact that the dollar-based economy, which the whole world rely on, that itself, the Federal Reserve itself hasn't audited from. In 1913, they got formed it. And the last, after so many of petitions in the Senate by Mr. Ron Paul, they hardly able to audit at a superficial level, not at the whole audit. So I mean to say, if we leave our community to go along with all other community and adopt the whatever prevailing monetary system, at least I think we can compete and come up through in this race. By sailing.
Absolutely, I totally agree with you. I would, if you see my earlier first 4-5 slides, my concentration, I came on interest and interest-free Sharia compliant at a very later stage. In my last 30 years, whenever I've seen the Muslim companies, Muslim financial balance sheets and everything, I've come to a conclusion that we are financially mismanaged. We are not that transparent. And as a matter of fact, not only Muslims, all SMEs and MSMEs or family-oriented businesses, whether Muslim or non-Muslim, we need to be very strong on our financial management, transparency, and corporate governance. I would one more point, whatever I think we as a Muslims, if we follow the principles of the Sharia means here कि जो तरीका कुरान और हदीस में ethical businesses practices का बताया है, So I think if we do even our businesses according to those Sharia principles, जिसमें और मैं एक बात ये कहूँ कि जो दीन है, जो ईमान है, वो 5 बुनियाद पर है. सबसे पहली है ईमानियात, फेथ. सेकंड है इबादत. ये सिर्फ 2 चीजें ऐसी है जो खुदा के साथ डायरेक्ट ताल्लुकात रखती है. बाकी 3 चीजें हैं मामलात, माशरत और अखलाकियात. ये 5 चीजें अगर हमारे कारोबार में आ गई और एथिकल बिजनेस प्रिंसिपल्स पर हम चलेंगे, दुनिया की कोई ताकत ऐसी नहीं है कि जो हमको हमारे कारोबार में से हला सके. जो 2-3 चीजें हैं, ईमानी, अखलाकियात, मामलात और माशरत, अनफॉर्चुनेटली टू से हम इसमें बहुत कमजोर हैं. वी आर वेरी वीक. आज ये जो प्रिंसिपल है कि वंस सोल्ड विल नेवर बी टेकन बैक, ये हमारे हर दुकान पे लिखा हुआ होता है. जबकि शरण प्रिंसिपल ये है कि अगर कोई ने तुमने माल बेचा है और वो कस्टमर वापस लेकर आया है, आपको बगैर किसी चूं चा के, बगैर किसी शिकायत के आपको वो माल वापस ले लेना है. ये तो है इस्लामिक प्रिंसिपल. लेकिन अनफॉर्चुनेटली हम ये प्रिंसिपल पे अमल नहीं करते. आज वेस्ट जो है इस अमल पे, जो उनकी जो रिटर्न पॉलिसी है वो शरिया बेस्ड पर है और उनकी जो कामयाबी जो है वो इसी बेसिस पर है. तो हमको वी नीड टू सी गो ऑन एन एथिकल बिजनेस प्रैक्टिसेस. एक आदमी ने बहुत अच्छा, चाइना का एक मैंने किस्सा पढ़ा कि मुसलमान जैसा आपने कहा ना कि हलाल ब्रोथल में मेरे को हलाल खाना चाहिए, वो चाइना जाता है और बोलता है कि मेरे को हलाल खाना ही खाना है, मेरे उसके जो सबऑर्डिनेट जो भी होगा. लेकिन जब वो बाजार में घूमता है अपना माल खरीदने के लिए, तो वो फेक आइटम्स की चीजों को ज्यादा पसंद करता है कि भाई मुझे फेक राडो चाहिए, मुझे फेक सीको चाहिए, मुझे फेक लुई विटॉन चाहिए, मैं, ताकि हमारे वहां फेक का बिजनेस बहुत अच्छा चलता है. तो मुझे समझ में नहीं आया कि ये मुसलमान सिर्फ हलाल गोश्त खाने वाला है या हलाल प्रिंसिपल्स पे अमल करने वाला है. तो वी नीड टू गो ऑन द एथिकल प्रिंसिपल्स ऑफ द शरिया के व्हाट हुजूर पाक सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम ने जो हमको तरीके इवन बिजनेस के भी बताए, क्योंकि हुजूर पाक सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम वाज द फर्स्ट बिजनेसमैन बिफोर ही बिकेम द प्रॉफिट. सो वी नीड इफ, तो हमारी सारी शरिया प्रिंसिपल्स जो भी है वो हमारे वेस्ट ने ले लिए, उनकी जो कामयाबी है वो उसी पर है. और जो मुस्लिम कंट्रीज आप देखो उनका क्या, तो हमको अपने आप में वी नीड टू सी अमंग आवरसेल्व्स, वी नीड टू इंट्रोस्पेक्ट अमंग आवरसेल्व्स कि वेदर आवर बिजनेस, यस आई एम एब्सोल्युटली, आई वुड से कि बहुत हलाल हलाल हलाल. अरे भाई बेसिक, you go for the basic requirements of Sharia. Halal interest, borrowed funds come at a very later stage. We need to first identify the basic ethics of our business कि भाई मैं कारोबार पे बैठा हूं तो मैं झूठ नहीं बोलूंगा, मैं सच. यहां तक के इट इज कि अगर किसी आपके प्रोडक्ट में नुक्स है, एनी प्रॉब्लम है, तो यू नीड टू फर्स्ट आइडेंटिफाई दैट प्रोडक्ट टू दैट योर कस्टमर कि भाई ये इसमें थोड़ा डैमेज है, वैसे मैं 50 में बेचता हूं, क्योंकि ये डैमेज है मैं आपको 40 में दूंगा. This is the Sharia principles. We need to follow on those Sharia principles. Then only I think we will succeed in our business enterprises.
अगर आप इजाजत दे तो एक छोटा सा एक बात बोलना चाह रहा था. अगर हम इस्लामिक कॉन्सेप्ट में देखना चाहें तो कई गुनाह हैं जिस पे लिस्ट किया गया है कुरान में भी, लेकिन क्या वजह है कि एक ऐसा गुनाह जो मॉनेटरी बेस्ड सिस्टम पे आया है उस पे अल्लाह ताला ने मेरे और रसूल से जंग करने के बराबर कह दिया, फाज़नु बिहर्बिल मिनल्लाहि व रसूल. तो ये जो एक चीज थी, अल्लाह ताला ने इसको शायद सीरियस इसीलिए लिया क्योंकि सारे गुनाह फिर इसी से रिलेटेड हो जाते हैं. लोग मजबूरी में कई गुनाह पैसे के खातिर करते हैं. अब दूसरी रही बात रसूलुल्लाह की मिसाल में, जहां पे हम कहते हैं कि हलाल ट्रेडिंग वगैरह हुआ है, लेकिन आप देखिए वो ट्रेडिंग चाहे वो हिरक्यूलिस की रोमन करेंसी हो या पर्शिया की करेंसी हो, वो सब चांदी या गोल्ड बेस्ड थी. ये पहला वाकया है, हम पहली कौम और उम्मत ऐसी है जो 200 साल से पेपर करेंसी पे है. और ये पेपर करेंसी का जो दारोमदार डॉलर पे है, वो डॉलर ने कभी आज तक ऑडिट नहीं किया. और जबकि एक छोटे कारोबार की ऑडिट करके उसकी बाल की खाल निकाल दी जाती। तो हम जो इस्लामिक आवाज उठा रहे हैं या इस्लामिक मैसेज पहुंचा रहे हैं, हमें साथ ही साथ ये भी करना है कि ये मॉनेटरी सिस्टम बिल्कुल हलाल नहीं है साहब, ये डॉलर सिस्टम जो है फ्रॉड है। इसका एक मैसेज हम आवाम को देते रहें तो एक ऐसा शऊर बनेगा जिसके बाद वो शायद सिस्टम बदले। चलिए आप बोलिए।
अजीमुद्दीन भाई, आप बहुत आगे की बात कर रहे हैं। मैं जैसे इंटरेस्ट के बारे में कुरान ने झूठ के बारे में इससे कहीं ज्यादा कहा है, और धोखा देने के बारे में। आज हम वो सारी चीजों को भूल चुके हैं, उसको क्योंकि हमने गुनाह ही नहीं समझा। हमने इंटरेस्ट को बहुत बड़ा गुनाह समझ लिया है, जबकि झूठ, धोखा देना, ये सारी चीजें जो बोलते हैं, जब माशरत में से बुराई इतनी आम हो जाती है कि वो गुनाह ही नहीं रहता, हमने उसको गुनाह ही नहीं समझा। खैर, ये सारी डिटेल में बहुत सारी इंशाल्लाह आपसे कभी मिलेंगे, मुलाकात करेंगे, इसके बारे में डिटेल में डिस्कशन भी करेंगे। इट्स अ वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग टॉपिक, वेरी लेंथी टॉपिक, अनएंडिंग टॉपिक। वरना हमारे अजमत भाई ने इंशाल्लाह आपसे मैं शेयर करूंगा आपको मेरा ईमेल आईडी। We will definitely speak on that because this is also a very pet topic of ourselves, and we always believe कि whatever जो भाई 24 घंटे की जो हमारी जिंदगी है, यही दीन है। बल्कि 24 घंटे की जिंदगी जनाब रसूलुल्लाह सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम के तरीके पर और अल्लाह के बताए हुए अहकाम पर हमको गुजारनी है। उसमें कारोबार भी आ गया, शादी ब्याह भी आ गई, माशरत भी आ गए, मामलात भी आ गए, सब कुछ आ गया। Inshallah, we will talk on this, and let further if there are any topics on business still waiting to go, we'll take that. Azmat bhai, Hidayat bhai.
Yeah, Jazakallahu khair for that engaging conversation. Azim bhai, thank you so much. You can write to Talha bhai separately and maybe have a phone conversation. Inshallah, take the details from us. Okay, we are taking last two questions. Brother Hidayat, over to you. If you have any questions that you have recognized, we can take that.
Brother Asif says, can someone get a working capital on 0% interest rate and without any equity in business, as the business is not making any profit in this time?
See, short-term working capital could be converted, could be Sharia compliant, made structured into Sharia compliant. जो asset financing है, if you can leverage your investments or your inventories or your assets and create, there are companies who structure them with the Sharia scholars, so that could be possible, but we need to study in detail about your products and everything. But everything is possible. We can structure it into a Sharia compliant for your short-term needs in business, which would be more towards working capital.
Okay, we'll allow last two questions on the voice, Talha bhai. People who want to ask questions can raise their hands. I have Asif.
Brother Asif has raised his hand. You can unmute yourself and ask your question to the speaker directly, Asif bhai.
Yeah, Assalamu alaikum. Yeah, I heard about the working capital. I only raised that question. So my another question is, how do we procure this working capital from the Sharia people or people who are willing to give this kind of a loan?
As I said, depending on your asset, how to leverage. So depending on your current assets, based on your current assets of your balance sheet, I think the Sharia people or the companies who are dealing into Sharia compliant products, there are quite a few companies, even in South. So you can definitely speak to them, and on the basis of your current assets, which could be fixed assets or your inventory or even your cash receivables, they can do the funding and structure it in a Sharia compliant way, where it would be going in the needs of your working capital.
Okay, thank you. Jazakallah.
Okay, we shall take the last question and conclude. Do we have any hands raised? Okay, I think we don't have any hands raised. We can probably take those questions later. And can we conclude with dua.
Then, Hidayat Bhai, thank you so much. Talha Bhai, I request you to highlight the service offerings that you have. In case if people would like to take your consultancy, what is the way how they can get in touch with you through IICCB? How do we schedule an appointment for the people, whoever has come in here, for especially for the members who are here, and how do they come and clarify their doubts and have their questions answered? How do we go about it? Can you just enlighten on that part?
See, basically, IICCB platform itself is meant for this, to facilitate and to counsel the community, to our members, to our non-members also. And definitely any question, I would be taking it, be replying it to you. If it goes through an IICCB channel, it would be very good. And I think we are coming out with a very good event, probably with our President Nurul Amin Saab, who would be giving his 30 minutes, which would be very crucial. And because since he is into business development and he knows a lot about Sharia thing and everything, and especially on the policy and business management, so definitely they are there. These sort of events would be taking place at IICCB platform. And on an individual basis, you can take my email ID. It's psareshwala@gmail.com for any personal questions related to finance, related to Islamic Sharia, related to equity, stocks, or any business management issues. Definitely, I would be more than happy. And I'm being mentoring quite a few startups and business enterprises here in Ahmedabad. So definitely, I would be very happy to take your queries on a personal basis also. And you can contact anybody from IICCB and do participate in such knowledge sharing events conducted by IICCB. So that would be very beneficial to you. Thank you very much.
Right. Somebody is asking for the benefits of the people. Your email address is TALHA Talha Sareshwala, one word, at gmail.com.
No. It's T.
Yeah.
Sareshwala. TSARESHWALA.
Sareshwala at gmail.com.
At
Yes,
gmail.com.
I'm putting it in the chat window. Whoever wants to note about it, you can go ahead. And that's it from our side. Thank you so much for all the people who have joined in on our Sunday morning. It has been a wonderful 2 hours, 2+ hours spent. Alhamdulillah. And it is a really wonderful session. Talha Bhai, thank you so much for taking this session for all the people for their benefits, and especially for the people who have joined in today and who wants to utilize the or rather become a member of IICCB. You can head to our website. You can go through all the membership details. Come join us to uplift and empower the Ummah and be together in this journey, inshallah. With this, I request the speaker to have the concluding remarks, and we'll end this session.
I would suggest,
let's close it with dua.
Please.
Close it with dua. Talha Bhai.
اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى ال سيدنا وبارك وسلم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي امري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. يا أحد الصمد الذي لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين. لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إني كنت من الظالمين. وإلهكم إله واحد لا إله إلا هو الرحمن الرحيم. يا حي يا قيوم برحمتك أستغيث. يا حي يا قيوم برحمتك أستغيث. أستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم وأتوب إليك. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون. سلام للمرسلين. الحمد لله رب العالمين. يا رب. سبحان الله بحمده. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك.
Ameen. Ya Rabbal Alameen. So that brings us to the end of this growing your business in an interest-free way for all the people. I once again thank you all wholeheartedly for joining us for this session, and we will be continuously updating and sharing such wonderful sessions in the days to come, inshallah. We're planning for a lot of good events, which will be knowledge sharing, which will be value based. I request you all to follow our social media channels. We are on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube with the ID as IICCB India as our handle, and we're also there on Instagram. Brother Hidayat,
Yeah, all the ISSCB social media handles are shared in the chat session. So request members to just become a subscribe to all our social media channels. This way you'll get all updates about our exciting activities which are coming forward.
so we all normally pitch like, share, and subscribe, right? So all these things has to happen, inshallah.
Yes,
And I'm pretty sure all the people
like,
will do this
share,
and spread a good word. Spread a good word if this session has really added value to you and made a difference in your life. And it did to me, Alhamdulillah. I did get to learn a lot of things which are pretty new, which otherwise is not possible to have when we have a discussion. This was very, very focused and Alhamdulillah, very well planned session, mashallah. Thank you so much again. And Jazakallahu khair. We take your leave and we will leave this meeting, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you.